Hold! Come on. You can come to the table if you want. There is sufficient place. How much place does a man need after all? No, I'll have no problem at all. I'll have no problem at all. Of course I can keep silent. Of course you can keep silent. I myself like to keep silent. You can keep silent and can talk also simultaneously. Very few know it. I've been doing it for a long time. Not you. You are now young. At your age, to keep silent means to keep silent. And to talk means to talk. Both the things cannot happen together. You are drinking with a small mug. Perhaps you have not been addicted as yet. I acknowledged you that you do not belong to here. I know all of them who come here at this hour. You cannot talk to them. They have already drunk enough. They come here for their last beer. All other pubs are got closed and they cannot go anywhere else. They expire very soon. On the table, outside on the road, in the local train. Very often I have had to carry them to their homes. Although they do not recognize me even on the morrow. Please do not misapprehend me. I tipped not of you. I've seen you here for the first time. Coming here, you sat down by an isolated table. I did mind it. Please do not be worried. I will not impose myself upon you. We can even sit alone with each other and be alone on our own beers. It is a little bit difficult at my age because every old man is more or less scared. To grow old gradually and gracefully is a grace. It is not within the limit of everybody. It does not come by itself. To grow old is an art which has to be learned with labor and perseverance. My age? Please guess. Oh no! You deliberately want to please me, although you pleased me. And if I take one more beer to celebrate this pleasure, you'd not mind, would you? And you? Will you not take? No, I'll not insist you. Everybody should have a liberty to choose his wine, his wife, and his life. You can choose them once only. Thereafter, we simply repeat them. What once we have drunk or once we have lived. Do you believe in another life? I mean life after death. I hope you'll not give me an absurd answer that you do not believe in any religion. Look, I myself am a Sikh, but this belief of yours seems to me interesting, that one does not die completely even after his death. Bhagwan Krishna has told in Gita, Natvevahang jatunashang natvam neme janadhipa na chai na bhavisyamah sarve vayam tahparam. There was never a time when I didn't exist, or you did not exist, or these people did not exist. Nor will there be a time when any of us will cease to be. Deho asmin yatha dehe kaumarang yagnang jara tatha dehantar praptiro dhiras tatra nam moyati. This Atma through this body attains childhood, youth and old age through this body. And in the same sequence, a time comes when the soul leaves this body and attains another one. Yoyanang bettihantarang yasyainang manyate hatam ubhau tavna bijanito nayang hanti na hanyate. He who thinks the soul to be capable of killing, and he who thinks it to be capable of being killed, both are ignorant. The soul neither kills nor is killed. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् अन्यं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यं शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. The soul is neither born nor it dies, nor there is so that once it has came into existence and hereafter it will cease to be. This soul is not slain even after the body is slain. नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्ति आपो न शोषयति मर्दः. Weapons cannot cut the soul. Fire cannot burn it. Water cannot wet it. And air cannot dry it. Achadyo ayam, adahyo ayam, akledyo ashushya evacha, nitya sarvagata, asthano achaloyam sanatana. It is said that the soul is achedya, adahya, akledya, ashushya, nitya, sarvagata, asthano, achalo, achal, and Sanatan. Generally, I think about this problem at night. Do you know, at my age, one does not get to sleep easily. For getting to sleep, one requires an ounce of carelessness and half ounce of exertion. And if you have neither, you can make them up by drinking 1.5 ounce of beer. That is why I've been coming here every day at midnight for 15 years regularly. I do sleep more or less, but I get up at about 3 o'clock and thereafter I cannot stay at home alone. 3 o'clock at night is a terrible time. I say you by my own experience. At 2 o'clock it seems to be night. At 4 o'clock it begins to be morning. But at 3 o'clock it seems to you that you are neither at this side nor at that. It always seems to me that if there is a time for death to come, it is this very time. No, I do not live alone at all. You know, pension holders have their own hobbies. I've got a cat which has been living with me for years. Now look, here I'm drinking beer and talking to you a lengthy talk, and there she might be sitting on the door, looking at the road, waiting for me. I do not know about you, but to me, it is consoling that someone is waiting for me. I cannot imagine a human whom nobody is waiting for, or who himself is waiting for nobody. The moment you abandon waiting, you abandon living too. Cats can wait for long with perseverance. They are like women regarding this, and not only regarding this, but also regarding that. They have an extraordinary power of attraction towards themselves. Fear and fascination both. You keep on standing fascinated when you look at a lady in solitude. Although you might have been scared of dogs and other animals also, but that is a fear of lower degree. You go along one way and the dog goes along the other. The dog fears that you may strike it, and you fear that the dog may pounce upon you. But in this fear, there is no secret, no excitement, no possibility as that which evokes from looking at a cat or a snake. It is true, and I say you by my own experience, that you cannot know a cat like a woman till the last. Whether you might have been living with her for years, not because she deliberately hides something within her, but because you yourself dare not open the gates closed inside her. Do not find it strange that mostly those things attract us which contain some fear in them. If you don't mind, I'd like to take one more beer. The pub will be closed in some time, and thereafter not even a single drop will be available in the whole city until the next morning. You don't be worried. I know the limit of my drinking. One should drink so much so that he may rise 1.5 inches above the ground, not more than that. Otherwise, he will keep on rising, and this rise will end in a gutter or at a police station, which is not a very interesting thing. But there are some others who keep on fixing their feet to the ground. It is all the same for them whether to drink or not to drink. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The right distance is 1.5 inches. There must remain such a consciousness that you can monitor your consciousness fading out like a matchstick. It should be thrown out as soon as the flame approaches the fingers, not after that, not before that. The secret of drinking consists in the acknowledgement of how long it should be gripped in and when it should be thrown out. The trouble is that we are not able to acknowledge until we go beyond more than 1.5 inches above the ground. And thereafter it is of no use. Perhaps you laugh at me, but it seems to me that acknowledgement comes when you go beyond the limit of acknowledgement. I'll not mind if you deride my statement and reject it. I myself sometimes try to learn to live with the hope that not to know many things is a way to keep myself safe. Gradually you learn to live with the hope as you learn to live with your wife in the same house for several years, although a suspicion sustains that she might be playing your game. And sometimes, to overcome that suspicion, you are drawn towards the second or the third lady. It is the beginning of your being disappointed. Because the second lady has her own secret and the third has her own. It is just like the game of chess. A gate of immense possibilities opens for your opponent as soon as you move one step. You hope, after being defeated in a game, to win in the next game. You forget that the next game has its own possibilities, endless and mysterious, like the first one. So I say, whether you might have come in contact with various ladies in your life, in real terms, you come in contact with only one lady. No, no, no. I do not live with any lady. I have already told you that I live alone at my house if you spare my cat. Yes, yes, I am married, but my wife is no more alive. My wife is no more alive. It is my assumption. It is my assumption. I call it assumption because I myself did not see her dying. And if you yourself did not see someone dying before your own eyes, you can only assume that he or she is no more. Perhaps you laugh at me, but it seems to me that until you yourself see someone, your close relative, dying before your own eyes, a feeble hope persists that she is still alive. You'll open the gate and she'll come to you striding from the kitchen and stand up before you. Of course, it is an illusion. It does not happen so. Here comes the cat instead of that, which keeps on changing the colors of her eyes, lying her head. I've heard people telling that time absorbs many things. Do you also think so? I don't know. But it seems to me that it does not absorb as much as it sweeps away in the dark corners of the house or under the carpet so that it may not appear from outside. But its palms are always out, which can nab you at any unknown moment. Perhaps I'm wandering. Perhaps I'm wandering. This is the joy of drinking beer. You deviate from the path and keep on moving round a circle, round and round. Do you know the play of children? When they sit down, forming a circle, and only one child keeping a handkerchief in his hand moves around them, round and round. It is played in your country also. Look, although we are different from each other, but the plays of children are seen everywhere. Our condition was also the same during those days because none of us was aware of when and behind whom they will lay their trap. Each of us, like a scared child, would look behind whether or not they are behind him. Yes, sir. Yes. Here came the Germans during those days. You might have been very young at that time. Even my age was not so much. Even I was not so old. Due to the war, we had to work from morning to evening. I used to be about my job like a young ox. There is age when one learns to live within the limit of average happiness. He has no leisure time to look beyond that. I mean to say that he need not look beyond that until he himself falls into that circle. Often you might have seen that the thing which you call joy is a thing of certain moment. Although it is a solid thing in itself, but it fades out after those moments pass away and appears as a hangover. But the thing which you call sorrow, suffering, pain or torture is a permanent thing. It is not felt exactly at the moment of accident. At such moment, one becomes hopeless. He is not able to search a ready-made frame to fit the torture evoked from the accident. The happening of accident is one thing, and to feel it, or to be able to feel it for the whole rest of your life in its totality is entirely a different thing. It is impossible. It does not happen so. I mean to say that it is not possible to feel the torture of other, keeping the other at his position over and over again. It will be more or less, but not equal to and same to that which the other has felt. No. No. I did not see the torture of my wife. When I reached home, they had already arrested her. It was the first occurrence during the 7-year span of my married life that I entered into my empty house. Cat? No, it was not with me at that time. I began to tame it several years later. The neighbors of the neighboring houses were, of course, watching me through their windows. It was but natural. I myself used to look through my window at those whose relatives were being arrested by the Gestapo police and were taken into a closed van. But I never imagined that one day I shall come home and my house will be barren. I ask you one thing. Is it not an odd that whenever we hear a news of somebody's death, torture or accident, or we learn it in a newspaper, this perception never comes to our mind that this can happen or could have happened with us also. It always seems to us that these are for others. I'm happy that you are taking one more beer. After all, you cannot stay before an empty glass for the whole night. I knew that you definitely ask me this question. If you had not asked, I would have been surprised a little bit. In the beginning, I myself could not understand anything. I've already told you that one becomes hopeless at such moment of accident. He is not able to anticipate his torture properly. All the belongings of my wife were scattered all around. Clothes, books, old newspapers. The drawers of the shelves and the tables were laid open, and everything, whether big or small inside them, were scattered on the ground at sixes and sevens. The sewing machine, the presents of Baisakhi, the old photo album. Do you know how many things are hoarded by themselves after marriage? It seemed that they had searched everything, whether very, very small. They had searched every nook and corner of the house. There was not even a single item which they spared untouched. At that night, I kept on sitting in my room. The bed of my wife was laid open. Under the pillow there were her handkerchief, packet of cigarette and matches box. She always smoked a cigarette before sleeping at night. In the beginning I was annoyed at this habit, but later on I became apt of that. By the side of the bed on the tripod there was a book, which she had been reading during those days. She had tagged her clip to the page where she had stopped reading at the previous night. There was the smell of her hair on that clip. Look how the memory of minor details calls back even after several years. It is but all right. We generally think about big and emotional things before marriage. But these big things slip away from our hands after marriage because we live together for several years. There remain some small things, as our daily routine habits looking superficial from outside, and our mutual differences which we do not share for shame. But everything seems to be empty without that. At that night I kept on sitting in my room alone among the belongings of my wife. Perhaps I was not in myself at that time. I was not able to apprehend anything. My wife was not at home, it was merely a truth which I could understand. But why they arrested her, this terrible secret was beyond me. Why my wife in particular? I kept on asking myself this question frequently during that night. You will be surprised that I suspected my wife for the first time during the 7-year span of my married life, as if she had kept something hidden from me, a thing which had nothing to do with me. Later on, I came to know that Gestapo police was said to trap her for a long time. Some illegitimate leaflets and pamphlets were found in her possession, which were being distributed among the public anonymously during those days. It was a severe crime in the opinion of German officials. The police had confiscated those papers from the room of my wife. And you will find it interesting that I was not aware of it. Before that night, she and I were living in the same room, and there was something in that room which was her secret, which belonged to none of my share. Do you not find it interesting that they knew my wife better than I myself did? Let me finish my glass, then I will give you company. The pub will be closed in some time. Not so soon. Drink. Drink. Relax and comfortably. The joy of drinking consists in drinking relaxed and comfortably. There is a proverb in our language that we should drink up to the fill because we shall not remain on this ground after 100 years. 100 years is the biggest span of time, don't you think so? Whether any of us will survive by then, I suspect. A man eats, drinks, lives, and one day suddenly he dies. No, to die is not a terrible thing. The terrible thing is that the dead man makes away with the sacred forever, and you cannot do anything against him. The other way, he becomes free of us. At that night, I kept on moving from one room of my house to another. You will perhaps laugh at me that I was the next man after the Gestapo police who had conducted another search operation of the belongings of my wife. I had searched everything elaborately. I was not able to believe that she will not leave anything behind her for me, by dint of which I shall be able to approach something which was associated with me too. The clothes of her marriage, some letters kept in the drawer of the dressing table, which I had written her before marriage, some stones and feathers, which she had been collecting by her hobby. Look, after a 7-year-long span of my married life, at that night, I was groping the belongings of my wife as if I were not her husband, but a professional servant of a detective police. I was not able to believe that I shall not be able to ask her anything thereafter. She'll not be able to escape from their hands. I knew it. I never found anybody coming back whom they arrested. But at that night, I was not afraid of the fact that she'll be close to death, than that I shall never be able to know the full fact. The death will lock the secret forever, and she will leave no link behind her for me, by dint of which I shall be able to open that lock. On the morrow at night, they knocked my door. I knew that they would come. I was already sitting prepared waiting for them. I knew that they would come. If my wife had confessed, they need not have my necessity. But I knew that she herself would not speak even a single word. I was not aware of her secret, but I was aware of her habits. She knew how to keep silent. However tough, let the torture be. No, I did not see her torture with my own eyes, but I can assume more or less. The first question which they asked was quite clear. Whether you are her husband? I said yes only to this question. All other questions were beyond me. But they were not ready to exonerate me so easily. They laughed at me when I replied that I did not know about those activities of my wife. They thought that I was evading to save my skin. They carried me into a cell, where for 7 days and nights they kept on asking me the same type of questions in various ways. What do you know about your wife? Where did she go? Whom did she meet? Who had given her those leaflets and pamphlets? I cannot say you about the method they adopted to draw any answer from me. You will not be able to feel even a fraction of that, even if I shall tell you elaborately. They beat me until I lost my sense. But they have got enough perseverance. They waited till I came back to sense. And thereafter the same sequence would start. The same old questions and endless torture. They were not ready to rely upon me that I, who had been living with my wife for 7 years, did not know about her secret activities. They thought that I was befooling them. I was trying to throw dust into their eyes. No, it was not my torture that they beat me. My torture was that I had got nothing with me to answer to their questions. To say I had got some very ordinary family affairs, which perhaps every woman does with her husband. I could not imagine that she was living another life with daily routine life. A life out of me, far from me, a life which had nothing to do with me. Do you not find it ridiculous that if they had not arrested her, I would always consider that my wife was what I thought of her. Do you know those were the few last days of the war? Gestapo did not let their prey escape easily. My wife did not confess till the last. They abandoned hope with her. But they considered me to be a raw. Perhaps they did not want to kill me. Although they did not even spare me of the pain that they could give me, which was hardly less than the death. Even I could not confess. Even I did not confess. But it was not my courage. As a matter of fact, I had got nothing with me to confess. Do you know, at the first night, when I did not find my wife at home, I'd been hurt. They deceived me, keeping me in dark. This perception hurt me time and again that even my wife did not consider me to have been faithful. But later on, while I was undergoing severe torture by the Gestapo police, I became grateful to her that she told me nothing about her secret. The other way she had saved me. I have not been able to conclude as yet whether I could have been able to keep silent if I were aware of the secret of my wife. Think how much my torture would have been increased if the option of confession were open to me. You can tolerate severe and severe torture under constraint. But if you know that you can be relieved at any moment, provided you'll have to betray someone, your close relative or your friend, then it is very difficult for me to say anything about whether you shall not opt that option after a certain degree of torture. There is no torture severe than open choice of confession. Sometimes it seems to me that my wife did not reveal her secret to me to save me, myself, from the torture of taking decision of confession. Look, generally it is said that there is no hide in love. It is crystal clear like a mirrored glass. I think it is an illusion. The meaning of love is not only to open yourself fully, but also to conceal yourself a little, so that you can spare others from your personal dangers. Every woman understands it, and because she has more power of love, she dares also to conceal herself. Don't you think so? Maybe I am wrong. But at night, when I do not get to sleep, it gives me relief to think that let it go. I shall not be able to make you understand. I did not hope when I invited you to my table that I shall be able to make you understand. No. Thereafter, I never saw my wife again. One afternoon, while I was returning home from my office, I came across those posters which were stuck to the walls of the city in every couple of days during those days. Each poster consisted of 30 to 40 names of those who had been shot dead during the previous couple of nights. When I saw the name of my wife, I felt exceptional for some time. That there can be the face of my wife behind that small name. I have already told you that until you yourself see someone, your close relative, dying before your own eyes, a feeble hope persists that she is still alive. You'll open the gate and she'll come to you striding from the kitchen and stand up before you. Look, I've begun to repeat my words. This is the joy of drinking beer. You deviate from the path and keep on moving around a circle, round and round. Are you going? Yes, I am going. But I'll buy some eatables for my cat before departure. She'll be waiting for me with thirst and hunger. No, you need not give me company. My home is not far from here, and I know the limit of my drinking. I've already told you, 1.5 inch above.